I was sitting on the couch last Tuesday evening when Isabel came home from work looking unusually excited. We'd been dating for 8 months, and I knew her tells, the way she dropped her purse by the door, the brightness in her eyes, the barely contained energy. Something was up. "Zach, I have some amazing news," she said, settling beside me with that smile that usually meant she'd gotten a promotion or her sister had called with good gossip. "Yeah? What's going on?" I muted the basketball game, giving her my attention. "You know how Celeste has been struggling with wanting to have a baby but can't afford the fertility clinic prices? Celeste Hoffman was Isabel's college roommate, 31, worked as a dental receptionist here in Phoenix, had been trying to get pregnant for years. I'd met her maybe 6 times total. Nice enough person, but we weren't close." "Right," I said, not sure where this was heading. "Well, I figured out how to help her." The excitement in Isabel's voice should have been my first warning sign. "Remember when you had to give those samples at the urologist 14 months ago? For that infection scare?" My stomach dropped. "What about them?" "I work in medical billing, so I have access to the lab system. I managed to convince Jamie, the technician I'm friendly with, to let me take one of your frozen samples. I told her it was for us, for future family planning." She was practically glowing. "Then I gave it to Celeste. She did an at-home insemination 3 weeks ago, and it worked. She's pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You what?" "I donated your sperm without telling you. My friend couldn't afford the $8,000 clinic fees, so I helped her out. Congratulations. You're going to be a biological father." I stared at her, my brain struggling to process what I'd just heard. "Isabel, what exactly are you telling me?" "I helped Celeste get pregnant using your genetic material. She's going to be a mom, and you helped make that possible. Isn't that wonderful?" "That's theft," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. "That's my biological material. You can't just take that and give it away." She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. It's just some cells sitting in a freezer. You weren't using them. And now Celeste gets to have the baby she's always wanted." "No, Isabel, that's reproductive theft. That's fraud. That's probably half a dozen other crimes." "Crimes?" She laughed. "Zach, you're being ridiculous. I did something nice. I helped my best friend become a mother. You should be honored." I stood up, pulled out my phone, and started recording. "Isabel, I need you to explain to me again, on camera, exactly what you did." "Why are you recording me?" "Because what you just admitted to is multiple felonies, and I need documentation." Her expression shifted from excitement to confusion to anger. "Are you serious right now? I did something beautiful. I gave my best friend the gift of motherhood. You're acting like I committed some terrible crime. You stole my genetic material and used it without my consent. You committed fraud to access medical records and samples. You potentially made me legally responsible for a child I never agreed to father. You're overreacting. It's not like you have to raise the baby or anything. That's not how the law works, and that's not the point. The point is consent. You violated my bodily autonomy." I walked into the bedroom and closed the door. My hands were shaking as I searched for reproductive rights attorneys in Phoenix. Found one with solid reviews, left a voicemail explaining the situation, and requesting an emergency consultation. Then I called Dr. Martinez's office, my urologist. The receptionist transferred me to their office manager, who transferred me to their legal department. Within 20 minutes, I had confirmation that they were launching an internal investigation into how my sample was accessed and removed from their facility. When I came back out, Isabel was on the phone. "I don't know, Mom. He's completely freaking out about this." "Yeah, I told him he's being a total jerk." She looked at me with disgust. "Celeste is over the moon about finally getting pregnant, and he's acting like I committed murder or something." I waited for her to finish her call. "My mother thinks you're being incredibly selfish," she said after hanging up. "Your mother doesn't understand federal law. What you did is theft of biological material. Depending on how Celeste used the sample, there could be additional fraud charges if she signed any documents claiming I consented." "Oh my God, stop. You sound like such a lawyer right now. Celeste is finally going to have the baby she's always dreamed of. Why can't you just be happy for her?" "Because I didn't consent to fathering her child. Consent matters, Isabel. It's not like she's asking you for anything. You don't have to be involved at all. That's not how paternity law works, and regardless, that's not the point. You stole genetic material from my body. You violated me in one of the most fundamental ways possible." She grabbed her keys. I can't deal with this right now. You're being completely unreasonable. I'm going to Celeste's. Maybe you'll calm down by the time I get back. After she left, I sat in the silence of my apartment, trying to process what had just happened. I'm 28 years old, work as a software engineer, thought I had my life figured out. Isabel's 26 seemed mature for her age, or so I thought. Now I was discovering that the woman I'd been dating for 8 months had committed what amounted to reproductive assault against me. I started documenting everything. The date I gave the original sample, today's date, her exact words, the recording I'd made. Every detail mattered now. My attorney called back that night. Donovan Reed, 23 years of practice in reproductive law. Mr. Phillips, I've reviewed your voicemail. This is serious. You're looking at reproductive coercion, theft of biological material, fraud, HIPAA violations by the medical facility. First thing tomorrow, we need to file a police report. What kind of charges are we talking about? For your girlfriend, multiple felonies that could result in jail time. For you, we need to establish immediately that you had no knowledge or consent. The fact that there's already a pregnancy doesn't legitimize what happened. You need protection from any future paternity claims. What about Isabel? Honestly, I'd recommend ending that relationship immediately. She committed serious crimes and doesn't seem to understand the gravity of what she's done. I filed the police report Wednesday morning at the Phoenix Police Department. Detective Williams had seen reproductive coercion cases before, women sabotaging birth control, men poking holes in condoms, but nothing quite like this. The medical facility angle makes this bigger than typical domestic cases, she explained. We're talking federal violations, HIPAA, medical records fraud. I'll need to coordinate with the DA's office. She took my statement, reviewed the recording I'd made, and collected all the documentation I'd gathered. The whole process took 3 hours. Mr. Phillips, I want you to understand that cases like this can get complicated fast. There's going to be pressure from various directions, family, friends, maybe even strangers who think you should do the right thing. But what happened to you is a serious crime, and you have every right to pursue charges. When Isabel came home that evening, her belongings were packed in boxes by the door. My brother Kevin had helped me pack everything while she was at work. He'd driven over from Scottsdale as soon as I called him. "Jesus Christ, Zach," Kevin had said when I explained the situation. "That's not just theft. That's like reproductive assault. You know that, right?" Having Kevin validate my reaction meant everything. He's 32, been married for 5 years, understands the gravity of reproductive decisions. "What is this?" Isabel demanded when she saw the boxes. "You need to leave. You're kicking me out over this? You committed multiple felonies, Isabel. Yes, I'm asking you to leave. This is my home too. Your name isn't on the lease. Here's your prorated rent for the rest of the month." I handed her a check. "Take your things and go." She stared at her phone. "Celeste just texted me. Police came to her workplace and questioned her. What did you do?" I reported the crimes that were committed against me. "It was a favor between friends. It was theft." Her mother arrived 20 minutes later. Janet Coleman, mid-50s, worked as a paralegal. You'd think someone with legal experience would understand the situation better. "Zach, this is insane," Janet announced, barging into my apartment. "Isabel was trying to help someone. You're going to destroy her life over this." She destroyed her own life by committing crimes. Nobody sees it that way. The police see it that way. The DA's office will see it that way. And frankly, I don't care how you see it. Isabel was crying now. "I can't believe you're doing this. I thought you loved me." "I did, before you proved you don't understand consent or basic legal boundaries." "What about Celeste's baby? You're going to ruin her life too." "Celeste participated in fraud. She used stolen genetic material. If she signed any documents claiming I consented, that's more fraud. She made her own choices." Janet pointed at me. "You're a cold, heartless bastard. That baby is innocent." "The baby is also not my responsibility. I never agreed to father it. When this goes to court, that'll be established." "When this goes to court?" Isabel's voice went shrill. "You're suing us?" "My lawyer's drawing up a cease and desist for Celeste. She's not to contact me, not to list me on any birth certificates, not to make any claims of paternity. If she violates that, yes, there will be a civil suit. The criminal charges are already filed." They loaded up her boxes, Janet muttering about lawyers and overreactions. Before leaving, Isabel turned back. Celeste's baby deserves a father. You're going to regret abandoning your own child. It's not my child. I never consented to create it, and that'll be legally established. They left. I locked the door and called Kevin. How you holding up? He asked. Honestly, I feel like I'm in some kind of nightmare. 8 months of dating someone, and I had no idea she was capable of this. That's the scary part, man. She probably doesn't even see it as a crime. In her mind, she was playing matchmaker or some shit. The attorney says that doesn't matter. Intent doesn't change the fact that she stole biological material and committed fraud to do it. Over the next few days, the legal machinery started moving. I gave my statement to detectives, provided all documentation. Dr. Martinez's office confirmed the sample was accessed improperly, that Isabel had used her medical billing credentials to gain access to the lab system, that she'd convinced a technician it was for our personal use. The technician was fired immediately. The facility's legal team contacted me directly. They'd be cooperating fully with the investigation and had already implemented new security protocols. There was talk of a separate civil suit against them for the security breach, but Donovan advised focusing on the criminal case first. Friday afternoon, Celeste called from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Zach, it's Celeste. Please, I'm so sorry. I didn't know Isabel didn't have your permission. She told me you'd agreed to help me out. She said you guys had talked about it, and you were fine being a donor. Please don't press charges. I'm 8 weeks pregnant. I can't lose this baby. Please. I forwarded the voicemail to Donovan. Immediately. That's actually helpful, he said when he called back. She's admitting she knew where the sample came from. Shows knowledge that might help establish intent. What happens now? DA decides on charges. Could be anywhere from theft to fraud to reproductive coercion. Depends on how aggressive they want to be. The medical facility angle makes it federal, potentially. And Celeste's involvement? If she knew the source and participated anyway, she's liable too. That voicemail suggests she at least suspected something wasn't right. What about the baby? That's complicated, but you have no parental rights and no parental obligations if this is handled correctly. The baby was conceived without your consent using stolen genetic material. Courts have handled similar cases before. You're not legally the father. And if Celeste tries to claim I am, then we go to court and establish the facts. You have documentation, recordings, police reports. You'll be fine. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. Donovan explained it would be a long process. Criminal trials take time. Civil issues would be separate. What's your best case scenario? I asked. Criminal convictions for both of them. Clear establishment that you have no parental rights or obligations. Civil settlement for your legal fees and emotional distress. Restraining order that holds up. Worst case? They plead down to lesser charges. You still get your parental rights clarified, but they do less time. Celeste raises the kid on her own. You're free, but it's messier. I can live with messy as long as I'm free. The DA filed charges 2 weeks later. Isabel faced felony theft, fraud, computer crimes, accessing medical records without authorization, and HIPAA violations. Celeste was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and receiving stolen property. Isabel's attorney sent a letter claiming the charges were excessive and vindictive, that I was weaponizing the legal system against women trying to help each other. Donovan's response was surgical. He outlined every statute violated, cited case law on reproductive rights, and concluded with, Mr. Phillips is pursuing all available legal remedies for serious felonies committed against him. Then Child Protective Services got involved. A social worker named Diane Webb showed up at my door on a Thursday evening. She showed her ID, explained she was from CPS. Mr. Phillips, I'm here about the baby that will be born in approximately 6 months. Ms. Hoffman is claiming you're the biological father and that you've abandoned your child. I'm not abandoning anything. I never consented to create this pregnancy. The genetic material was stolen from me. I understand that's your position, but biologically, if DNA testing shows you're the genetic father, there are welfare considerations. Direct those considerations toward the woman who stole my genetic material and the woman who used it knowing it was stolen. She made notes throughout our hour-long conversation. Have you considered that once this child is born, they might want to know their biological father? that child can know their biological father was the victim of a crime, that their mother participated in fraud, that none of this was consensual. You seem very detached from this situation. Because I am. This child is not mine in any meaningful way. It's the product of theft. Donovan said the CPS visit was standard procedure, but irritating. They're trying to establish if you're going to be a resource for the child. Answer honestly, stick to facts, don't let them guilt you. The harassment escalated over the following weeks. Janet Coleman sent me a Facebook message. You're going to burn in hell for what you're doing to that innocent baby. Celeste is struggling financially and emotionally, and you're making it worse. Be a man and take responsibility. I screenshot it and sent it to Donovan. More evidence of harassment, he said. 2 days later, Celeste's attorney sent a demand letter. She wanted $2,500 a month in child support, starting immediately, medical expenses, and a guarantee I'd be listed on the birth certificate. Donovan laughed when he read it. She's delusional. Let me handle this. His response was brutal. Your client participated in fraud to acquire stolen genetic material. She has no legal claim to anything from Mr. Phillips. Any further harassment will result in additional civil action. Your client should be more concerned with the criminal charges she's facing. Then Isabel and Celeste showed up at my workplace. Security called me down to the lobby. They were both there. Celeste showing now at about 4 months pregnant. Look at her, Isabel screamed across the lobby. Look at what you're doing. She's pregnant with your baby, and you're acting like she doesn't exist. You need to leave, I said calmly. You're both under orders not to contact me. That baby needs a father, Celeste was crying. I can't do this alone. I can't afford this alone. You should have thought about that before you participated in fraud. I didn't know. Isabel said you agreed. That's your problem. You believed a thief. Security escorted them out. I filed another police report for violating the no-contact order. Donovan said it would help our case. My workplace HR department called me in for a meeting the next day. They'd heard about the incident, wanted to understand if there were any security concerns. Mr. Phillips, we need to know if the situation affects your security clearance status. I work for a defense contractor. Security clearance is everything. I'm the victim of multiple felonies. I've reported everything to authorities and am cooperating fully with law enforcement. Any criminal charges against you? None. I'm the complainant, not the defendant. They seemed satisfied, but I could see the concern in their eyes. Even being adjacent to this kind of drama was problematic in my field. Isabel's parents tried to approach me at a coffee shop near my apartment. I saw them coming and got up to leave immediately. They followed me to my car. Please, Janet said. Isabel's looking at real jail time. She made a mistake. Can't you just drop this? No. She's my daughter. She's a criminal. She violated my most basic rights. I don't care that she's your daughter. What about Celeste's baby? That child is innocent. Not my problem, not my responsibility, not my child. Her husband spoke for the first time. A real man would step up. A real man respects consent and personal boundaries. Your daughter doesn't. That's why she's facing charges. I drove away, blocked both of them on everything. The trial took 3 months. There were delays, motions, plea negotiations. Donovan kept me informed every step of the way. They're trying to work a deal, he told me in late November. Reduce charges in exchange for guilty pleas. The DA's office wants to avoid a lengthy trial. What kind of deal? Isabel pleads guilty to felony theft and misuse of medical records. Gets probation instead of prison time. Celeste pleads to conspiracy and receiving stolen property. Also, probation. Do I get what I need? Yes. Part of any plea deal includes them signing documents waiving any claims of paternity, child support, or involvement from you. Plus, they pay your legal fees. How much are we talking about? Around $10,000 total so far, split between them. The preliminary hearing confirmed what Donovan had predicted. Both women were looking at significant jail time if they went to trial. Their attorneys were pushing hard for plea deals. Judge Coleman is known for being tough on reproductive crimes, Donovan explained after the hearing. Both sides know that going to trial is risky for the defendants. In December, both women accepted plea deals. Isabel pleaded guilty to reduced charges, felony theft, and misuse of medical records. She received 2 years probation, a $3,000 fine, and 200 hours of community service. Celeste pleaded guilty to conspiracy and receiving stolen property. 18 months probation, $2,000 fine. Both now have felony records that will follow them for the rest of their lives. The civil case settled out of court in January. They split my legal fees, $10,000 total. More importantly, both signed comprehensive documents permanently waiving any claims of paternity, child support, or involvement from me. The settlement agreement was ironclad, according to Donovan. If either of them ever tries to contact you or make any claims regarding this child, we go straight back to court. The penalties for violating this agreement include additional jail time and financial damages. The baby was born in March. A girl. I know this only because it's mentioned in the final court order. I am legally not the father, not on the birth certificate. No rights, no obligations. The judge's order specifically states the conception was non-consensual and achieved through criminal activity. I've been working with Dr. Morgan, a therapist who specializes in trauma from reproductive coercion, since December. She's helped me understand that what I experienced was a form of sexual assault. The non-consensual use of my genetic material. Most people don't understand this level of violation, she explained during one of our sessions. When someone you trust uses your body against you, it creates a unique kind of trauma. The fact that it resulted in a pregnancy makes it even more complex. The nightmares started about a month after everything began. I'd wake up panicking about legal papers, about surprise paternity claims, about Celeste showing up at my door with a baby demanding support. Dr. Morgan says they're getting better, and they are, but the hypervigilance around contraception remains. I check and double-check everything now. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. Dating feels impossible. How do you explain to someone that your ex-girlfriend stole your sperm and gave it to her friend? How do you trust anyone with that level of intimacy when you've been violated so fundamentally? Healing takes time, Dr. Morgan reminds me. You're not required to be ready for another relationship until you feel safe. And feeling safe again after this kind of betrayal is a process. I lost some friends over this situation. People who think I should have stepped up or been the bigger person. My college roommate Matt actually said I was abandoning my responsibilities as a man. We haven't spoken since, but I also gained clarity about who really supports me. Kevin has been incredible throughout this entire process. Consent matters, period, he told me when I was struggling with the social pressure. What she did was rape adjacent. Anyone who doesn't understand that isn't someone you need in your life. My friend Jason from work has been equally supportive. Dude, if someone stole my genetic material, I'd burn their life down too. You did exactly what you should have done. The online community has been surprisingly helpful. I found a support group for men who've experienced reproductive coercion. It's a small but active forum where guys share similar stories. Girlfriends who stopped taking birth control without telling them. Women who stole condoms from trash cans. Cases like mine involving medical theft. Knowing I wasn't alone in this experience has been crucial for my recovery. My mother still thinks I was too harsh. That baby didn't do anything wrong, she keeps saying whenever we talk. Neither did I remind her. I was the victim of multiple felonies. She doesn't quite get it, but she's stopped pushing me to reconsider. My father, on the other hand, understood immediately. Someone violates you like that. You defend yourself, he said simply. You did the right thing. Work has been a refuge. The security clearance review concluded without issues. Being the victim of crimes doesn't disqualify you, and my complete cooperation with law enforcement actually worked in my favor. My manager even commended me for handling the situation. By the book, Isabel sent a letter through her attorney last month. She's not allowed direct contact due to the restraining order. It said she understands now what she did was wrong, that she's in therapy, that she hopes someday I can forgive her. I won't. Dr. Morgan and I have talked about this extensively. Forgiveness isn't required for healing, and what Isabel did wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate, calculated theft of my genetic material for someone else's benefit. She chose her friend's desires over my fundamental rights. That's not a mistake. That's character. I sold my condo in March and moved to Dallas. New job with a tech startup, new apartment, new everything. The salary is actually better, and the change of scenery has been therapeutic. I couldn't risk accidentally running into them in Phoenix. Couldn't risk Celeste deciding in a few years that she wants me involved after all. Relocation can be a healthy form of self-protection, Dr. Morgan said during our last in-person session before I moved. You're allowed to enforce your boundaries even when others think you're wrong. I've found a new therapist here in Dallas. Dr. Stevens specializes in trust issues and relationship trauma. We're working on rebuilding my ability to be vulnerable with others, but it's a slow process. Sometimes people ask if I ever think about the child. Not in a paternal way. I don't feel like her father because I'm not. But I do think about the fact that she'll grow up knowing her existence began with a crime, that her biological father wanted nothing to do with her because he never consented to creating her. That's tragic. But it's not my tragedy to fix. I didn't create that situation. Isabel and Celeste did. The whole experience taught me something important about boundaries and consent. They're not suggestions. They're not flexible based on other people's good intentions or desperate circumstances. They're absolute, and protecting them isn't selfish. It's necessary. I'm building a new life now in Dallas, one where the people around me understand and respect those boundaries. It's smaller, more careful, but it's mine. My new social circle includes Kevin, who visits regularly, Jason, who's helped me network in the Dallas tech scene, and a few new colleagues who know nothing about my past drama. Dating is still off the table, but I'm not ruling it out forever. Dr. Stevens thinks I'm making good progress in rebuilding trust, even if it doesn't feel that way to me yet. The legal stuff is over. The emotional recovery continues. But I'm free. No child support, no custody complications, no ties to people who violated me in the most fundamental way possible. Some days, that freedom is enough. Most days, actually. And that feels like progress.